All right. So I just got finished watching Final Resolution 2012, and it feels like one of those like It definitely did feel like one of those more uneventful pay-per-views, like where for how much you pay for a pay-per-view, you'd think a lot would happen, but really not much actually felt like it went on in this match. Yeah, I gave TNA credit last time that they actually announced all their matches, but apparently they decided to have an unannounced match on this. But at least they had the courtesy to try to build it up and somehow that it's not just random as hell. They actually did bring a context. James Storm for some reason decided to do a promo opening up the show, and then Kazarian came out talking all this crap, and then they decided to have a match out of this where James Storm ultimately wins with the last call super kick. It was basically a TV match. It was a good TV match, but at the same time, not much went on. I think they wanted really to just keep Storm's momentum after he lost the title opportunity yet won at the last pay per view. Anyway, all right match. Next up was Kenny King and versus Rob Van Dam for the X Division Championship. This was actually a pretty cool X Division showcase style match, but the big problem with it was that Rob Van Dam and Kenny King were kind of sloppy. Kenny King is kind of inexperienced and he has a high risk style, so you can sort of see why that is. But Rob Van Dam, I'm not sure what was going on. Maybe they should have had a later match because maybe he was still suffering from his effects from the 420. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the case. But anyway, Rob Van Dam retains. Good match. I gave it a 7 out of 10, and for that basically above average TV match, I gave it a 6 or 7 out of 10. Next up was Hernandez and Chavo Guerrero versus Joey Ryan and Matt Morgan. I noted this when these guys came out. I was like, why do both of these guys have entrance themes that sound like porn music? This wasn't really a good tag team match. Again, it was like a TV match. But what it did better than anything was establish Matt Morgan as a big guy. Like, around the guys in there, Matt Morgan seemed fucking huge. I mean, Hernandez is a muscular guy, but he's not that tall. And Chavo and Joey Ryan are pretty short. So friggin' Matt Morgan towers over everybody. And this was actually a pretty good match to establish Matt Morgan, even though he lost by disqualification. What happened was Joey Ryan had ended up getting beat up by Hernandez, and then Frog Splash by Chavo. Chavo went for the pin, and Matt Morgan decided to pull out the referee, and then he's like, what the hell? You're just DQ'd for that. And then they just kind of went out, all right match, but not really anything you wouldn't see on TV. This did have some good moments, but at the same time, the big problem was the fact that, again, Hernandez and Matt Morgan were kind of sloppy. Next up was Austin Aries versus Bully Ray. Now, when I saw this feud on paper, I kind of saw the big problem with it, that they tried to centralize it around Brooke Hogan, and that's kind of dumb for obvious reasons. But for the match they had, I thought it was at least, I thought it was good. I thought it was a good match. It was pretty hard hitting. Bully Ray has a pretty hard hitting style, and Austin Aries has a pretty hard hitting style. So it's a lot of what you would expect. But what kind of stopped it from me enjoying it as much was the fact that Brooke Hogan did, in fact, get involved near the end, and then Hulkster came out. And I might have missed this, but it kind of looked like Austin Aries tore off part of Brooke Hogan's outfit, because when Hogan came out, for some reason she was only in her bra instead of wearing a whole shirt. So I'm wondering, like, did I miss something, or was I just not paying attention during that time? But anyway, Austin takes advantage of the situation, low blows, Bully Ray, pins him, 1, 2, 3, your winner is Austin Aries. A good match, I gave it a 7 out of 10. Next match was James. Now, I've been a lot more forgiving about the, Tara's boo situation with Jesse than a lot of other people. I am not forgiving of it in this case. Tara versus Mickie James was a crap match. Tara and Mickie are great wrestlers, but the fucking thing with Jesse just got so annoying. And not in the good, I want to see this guy get his ass kicked way. It's like, why is this guy even here kind of way. I was so tired of seeing him after a while. It wasn't even when Mickie kicked him, I kind of wanted to laugh, but at the same time I was like, geez, I just want this guy out of here. And then Tara hit Mickie with the Widow's Peak, and she won. I think it might be the case of, like, I know these two can wrestle, and I want a wrestling match between these two. Like, even something that's kind of tangentially related as a wrestling match, like the match they had 2 years ago when, actually, was that Victoria and Mickie? Because I remember there was a match where Mickie and Tara were in. Oh, was it Tara? It was they had like a backstage brawl match basically, and that was pretty cool. But I'm not sure if they wanted to do something like that again. But I wanted to see a match, and I didn't get that. I don't know. I guess I figured this is kind of disrespectful. Like, Mickie had those looks on her face, like, the fuck you doing here? And it was kind of rivaled here. I was like, this is a 4 out of 10 match. You know, it had some good moments. I think that was saved by the fact that both, and I think the only reason I rated it this high was because the crap moments were saved by the fact that Tara and Mickie did know how to work a good match. They just weren't allowed to as much as they should have. The next match is a 4-on-4 tag match between Wes Briscoe, Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, and Garrett Bischoff versus the Aces and Eights. For a 4-on-4 tag team match, this was actually pretty good. Everyone got a little bit of offense. Every one of these guys got a pretty good, every one of the guys whose faces you can see anyway, got a pretty good offense in, and they all looked pretty good. And I kind of liked the mob mentality that both guys showed. And it was actually a pretty fun match to watch. Like, again, Samoa Joe was the guy who kind of stole the show, in my opinion. He did a lot of crazy stuff. Anyway, everyone starts doing attacks one after another, basically getting one guy, attacking one guy out of the ring, attacking another guy out of the ring. Until Kurt Angle slams one of the guys and then goes for the pin. Or was it a submission? I actually can't remember. But anyway, Kurt Angle gets the win. Aces and Eights loses. I think Aces and Eights needs to look more badass because they're looking too weak at this point. That was a 7 out of 10. Oh, well, that complaint probably got issued for the finale. But anyway, next match was AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels. One last time. God, it kind of says it all when they actually pointed out how many times have these two faced. It's like, oh yeah, we actually calculated the numbers. 112 times! Jesus. It's like, this better be the final time because I'm kind of tired of seeing these guys at this point. But anyway, AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels was actually a good match. For a final match, this fits. They went freaking hard hitting. They hit shit that you look at it and you just cringe because all the hits they did, like the suplex onto the fucking stairs, the suplexes onto the aprons. All this stuff looks like it hurts so damn much. Though the more traditional wrestling styles that they did was actually pretty cool. And sorry about that. And a lot of the funny stuff Christopher Daniels did was actually really, really cool too. But the match ends in a way that I didn't expect it to, and it does make you feel sorry for AJ Styles, but I was also kind of laughing with Christopher Daniels because I found him to be fucking hilarious nowadays. But anyway, what happens is AJ Styles goes for a Styles Clash. He hits it. He very slowly, due to his injuries, tries to turn over. Christopher Daniels goes for the pin, kicks out at 2. Now, I like this. I like the fact that he kicked out at 2 only after he very slowly turned him over, because that kind of shows that, Christopher Daniels isn't just that strong, it shows that the Styles Clash isn't just that weak. It's the fact that Christopher Daniels had enough time to rest. So then AJ Styles goes for the Styles Clash from the second rope, and then like Daniels holds onto the ropes, basically Hurricane Ranas him, and then lands him on the back of his head. And then Christopher Daniels does something I did not expect. He hit the Styles Clash on AJ Styles, and usually for that sort of thing, they kick out. AJ didn't. 1, 2, 3. The winner of the final match is Christopher Daniels. So, yeah, I'm assuming this is going to be the downward slope that AJ Styles is supposed to be going on for his eventual comeback. But damn, that's a hard way to end a feud that's basically been going on for 10 years. Damn. Christopher Daniels with dominant fashion, and even the ending. Like, after the match, he was just saying, I am better than you. Must be going through puberty. Anyway, I thought this was definitely a good match. A very good match. It's just that I've seen so much of their stuff together that it's hard to really get surprised by anything they do anymore. I gave it an 8 out of 10 for that reason. You know, when they brought up the fact that the best match, or the most debatably best match of TNA, was them versus Samoa Joe. Well, those two against each other versus Samoa Joe. It kind of made me wonder why they didn't try to spin that off at one point. Like, I think Joe versus Daniels could have been pretty funny. You know, or at least Joe and Kazarian versus Daniels could have been pretty funny. Or Joe versus Kazarian and Christopher Daniels could have been pretty funny. Or I think they tried that at one point with the tag teams, but I guess Brutus Magnus didn't exactly fit in. But anyway, down to the final match. The final match of the final pay-per-view of Final Resolution, which is the final pay-per-view. It was for the TNA Heavyweight Championship of the World. Bobby Roode versus champion Jeff Hardy. This match, I've seen better out of both of these guys, but I thought this was an above-average match. You know, like, again, they kind of went with the more hard-hitting stuff with Jeff Hardy. The fact that he was supposed to have been still suffering from his wounds at the hands of attacks from Aces and Eights at the past Impact. But I've kind of felt it went a little bit slow. And, yeah, I just wasn't overall happy with the pace, and I didn't like how and I thought both of these guys should have brought out more offense. Even though I did like that both of them did have some surprises up their sleeves, like that giant backward splash by Jeff Hardy, you know. So I thought this was at least a good match. I gave it a 7 or 8 out of 10, but it didn't enthrall me like I expect a main event to. Ultimately, the winner of the match was Jeff Hardy. At one point, when Robert Roode spears Jeff Hardy, he kind of calls for Aces and Eights to come out. They do, but they don't do anything. Like, he's not the leader or anything. He's just, he paid him off to do a job, and they're not doing it. And then while he's like, what are you doing? Hardy hits a twist of fate on Robbie Roode. Gets the pin, 1, 2, 3. Winner and still champion, Jeff Hardy. And while the announcer's still saying that, the Aces and Eights attacks. They're beating down on Jeff. And then Bobby Roode is just like, the fuck? The fuck you guys doing? I wanted your help freaking a few minutes ago. I should be champion. Clocked. And then they both beat up on both them guys. Last sight is Aces and Eights. I gave the match about a 7 or 8 out of 10. It was definitely above average. Now, the pay-per-view as a whole, as I said, you got to build things up towards a climactic finish. And this was just sort of like, instead of ending with a, yeah, they ended with a, hey, if I was to best say it. Like, as some of the stuff at the beginning might have been forgiving, like the stuff that just wasn't that good in the beginning might have been forgiven if the main events were better, but they just weren't. So this was, actually, this kind of felt like TV stuff. Like, you flip something on and you start watching it. You know, that sort of thing. and it kind of lacked the energy that a lot of other pay-per-views this year had. But anyway, that was TNA Final Resolution. I gave it a 6 out of 10. Stay tuned. Next week, I should cover Survivor Series 2012. And after that, and what the fuck am I saying? Not WWE TLC 2012. And then after that, I'm going to see if I can make like some end of the year awards. Or at least the top 10 matches of the year. Whether or not I will do like a full-on series of awards, is yet to be seen because I haven't watched Raw as regularly as I should. I haven't watched SmackDown as regularly as I should. I haven't watched TNA as regularly as I should. So I'm not sure if I can do like a lot of little awards a lot of people do, but I could probably comment on certain things. But anyway, that was TNA Final Resolution 2012. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and